There's a moment, brief, almost imperceptible, when the kindest face contorts into something unrecognizable, a whisper in the soul, a shadow crossing the conscience, and suddenly the hands that once offered help tremble with the urge to destroy. Tell me, is it truly evil that enters, or is it always there, coiled like a serpent beneath the polished surface of goodness, waiting only for the right silence to hiss its truth? You've been taught to trust appearances, to believe that kindness is proof of virtue. But what if kindness itself is a mask, a performance, a delicate illusion stretched over a chasm far deeper than you were ever allowed to imagine? Have you never felt it, that quiet thrill at the thought of rebellion, even as you smiled in obedience? That soft, forbidden pull toward cruelty wrapped in righteousness? Nietzsche once said that man is not one being, but a swarm of instincts, warring, hungry, concealed. And sometimes the instinct we name good is merely the cowardice of the strong or the vanity of the obedient. So what happens when the mask slips? When the so-called good man no longer resists the abyss, but listens to it, perhaps even welcomes it. Maybe morality is not a compass, but a leash, and those we call good are simply those who have been most thoroughly trained, until something snaps. What if guilt is not the consequence of evil, but its midwife? What if the deepest crimes are not born from hatred, but from love twisted, ideals betrayed, virtues exhausted by their own weight? The hero who becomes the executioner, the saint who poisons with mercy. Are these aberrations or inevitabilities? You were told that evil is a choice, that goodness is a shield. But what if neither truly exist? What if there are only names we give to forces we do not understand, urges too primal to tame with words or commandments? There's a violence in every purity, a hunger in every sacrifice. And the more someone believes themselves good, the more dangerous they become, not because they are evil, but because they are blind to what stirs beneath their own skin. The monster you fear most may be hiding not in the world, but in the echo of your own virtue. So listen carefully. This is not a story about criminals, nor a sermon on forgiveness. This is a descent into the fault lines of the soul, a reckoning with the fragile architecture of human morality. What breaks a good person? What awakens the wolf beneath the wool? And once it rises, who dares look in the eye without flinching? The answers do not lie ahead, only the ruins of the illusions you still carry. Step closer. The mask is already cracking. And so we descend not by choice, but by inevitability. Because once the mask cracks, something ancient begins to breathe through it. Not with fury, not with fire, but with that eerie calm of something that has waited far too long to be heard. The good man that constructs sermons and social contracts does not vanish in a scream. He dissolves in a whisper, a gesture slightly too firm, a lie wrapped in compassion, a silence where protest should have stood. It begins with the smallest betrayal of self, when one smiles at the unacceptable for the sake of harmony, when one bows not out of respect, but out of fear dressed as civility. And it builds day after day, until the self becomes a ghost, and the ghost forgets it was ever alive. We do not fear evil. We fear the mirror. For in it we see the truth Nietzsche tried to carve into the bones of our illusions. Man is not born to be moral. He is trained to behave. And every act of goodness not rooted in awareness becomes performance, a pageant of denial. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt the tremor of a storm hidden behind their kindness? Have you ever wondered what it takes to cross the line and realize that the line was never real? When a good person finally commits something bad, it does not come as a thunderclap, but as a sigh, a release, a return, Because perhaps what we call evil is only the honesty that politeness strangled, the instinct that civilization caged. The wolf does not roar, it watches, and when it moves, it does so because we forgot it was there. Morality, as you were taught, is not a truth. It is a scaffold built over chaos. And the higher we climb it, the more we fear the fall. But fear does not kill the chaos. It feeds it. And there is something deeply perverse in how we worship the good, not for its essence, but for its safety. We idolize restraint, not virtue. We applaud those who bite their tongue, even when their soul screams. We reward those who pretend, those who suppress, those who smile through clenched teeth. And then we wonder why, one day, they explode. Why the mother screams at the child she adores. Why the teacher humiliates the student he once uplifted. Why the priest sins in the very chapel where he preached redemption. It is not hypocrisy. It is inevitability. No vessel can contain what it denies forever. Have you ever been close, terrifyingly close, to doing something you knew would shatter everything? Not out of malice, but because something inside refused to stay quiet any longer? That tremor is not evil. That tremor is life, unfiltered, ungoverned, untamed. We are taught to fear that pulse. But Nietzsche would ask, what if that pulse is the only real thing left in you? What the act you fear committing is the only act that would make you whole again? And yet we run from our darkness, from our instincts, from the animal that never died, only dressed itself in manners. But the longer you run, the more it learns to hunt, until one day, the chase ends not with confrontation, but with a collapse, a merging, a homecoming. So now, you feel it too, that breath behind the curtain, that flicker beneath the smile, that distance between who you are and who you pretend to be. Do not resist it. Watch it. Name it. Sit with the hunger. Not to feed it recklessly, but to understand its roots. The most dangerous people are not those who sin, but those who believe they cannot. The unshakable faith in one's own goodness. That is where the real violence begins, because it blinds, it sanctifies harm. It paints cruelty with holy colors. To awaken is not to choose evil. It is to strip away the illusion that you were ever free of it. And in that raw space, perhaps for the first time, the possibility of true choice emerges. Not out of fear, not out of guilt, but out of something far more terrifying. Awareness. You are not who you thought you were. And neither is the world. The betrayal was never in the act. It was in the forgetting that we are not statues carved for morality, but rivers shaped by tension, instinct, contradiction. To be human is not to be pure. It is to carry the storm and the stillness in the same breath. The good you chase may always slip through your fingers because it was never meant to be held. Only questioned, only danced with, only faced in the silence between one heartbeat and the next. So keep walking. Let the questions burn. Let the echoes ring. You are not falling. You are returning. And perhaps now, in this silence that follows the storm, you realize it was never about good or evil, but about the courage to face the mirror without flinching. The abyss you fear was not outside, but curled within, waiting not to consume you, but to be seen. The so-called fall was na verdade, a flight, not into darkness, but into depth. And in that depth, something breaks, but it is not you, it is the lie. Maybe the truth was never meant to soothe. Maybe it was meant to awaken, to remind you that the fire you buried still breathes, and that your shadow, far from being your enemy, might just be the part of you that remembers who you truly are, not a puppet of morals, but a being of tension, wildness, and possibility. The hero, The monster, the child, and the judge, all one. If you felt something stir within, a tremor, a tear, a breath held too long, then the journey ja comicu. Do not rush to understand. Let it echo, let it gnaw, let it grow roots in your silence. Because what was awakened here does not sleep again. So if this left a mark on your soul, share it, not out of habit, but because someone out there still believes the mask is real. Like, comment, subscribe, not to support a channel, but to step onto a path, one where truth is not given, but revealed. Together, let us remember what was forgotten